everyone, it's Kris Thurgood from My Girlfriend's Quilt Shop, and I am so thrilled to be able to welcome today Miss Laura Piland from Slice of Pie Quilts. How are you?
I'm so good. It's wonderful to be here.
Oh my goodness, we're so excited to have you here. Laura is a part of our brand new designer series. It's a collaboration that we've worked on together with Riley Blake Designs, and all year this year, there's going to be a different quarterly box that will come straight to your door, filled with beautiful fabrics, an exclusive design from a designer, and a few other goodies in that box as well. So today, what we are introducing is the first of that series, which happens to be a batik box.
Yes.
You love batiks, don't
I do
you?
love batiks.
What is your favorite thing about working with batiks?
They don't really fray the same
Yes.
way, and there's no wrong side. So when you start sewing, you can actually not pay attention at all.
I love
just
that.
Sew. And so it's faster. I like to sew things fast. So
I never thought about that being faster, because it really doesn't matter.
No, you can just pick up off the stack and sew, and so it goes about faster.
Oh my goodness, no fraying.
Yeah.
And the weave is much tighter, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's like a higher thread count feel because of the way they make the batiks. They prepare them in hot water, and it shrinks them before you sew with them. And so it makes them a really nice tight weave. So that's why they don't fray as much.
Exactly. Cutting, super simple, right?
Yep.
Actually piecing it, really nice, great hand on it. Beautifully goes through your machine and beautifully pressed as well, right?
It does. It presses really well, yeah. And
I'm
I
so
find
excited.
that modern batiks, meaning they've been made in the last 5 to 10 years, they do not bleed the same way they used to bleed.
Okay.
So I actually don't pre-wash my fabrics.
Okay, good to know.
Again, I save time.
That's right.
I'm trying to be fast. So
good to know.
I just start sewing right out of the box.
Oh my goodness.
And, don't worry about it.
Well, speaking of right out of the box, shall we pull that box
out?
Let's do. Okay, let's do it. So let's take a look. This is our Fat Quarterly Friends box right here. And again, it's because this comes to you quarterly. We get to open up. Yes, so let's take a look at what's inside. First of all, we have this great little ruler. Tell us a little bit about that, Laura.
Yeah, so this is a 3.5-inch square ruler, and you'll use that to square up the blocks in the pattern that's in there.
Right, perfect. We also have a nice little coupon code, and this is here so that you can purchase your background fabric, your backing, and your binding if you wish. All right. We'll show you that a little bit
there's a
more
picture
later.
of me.
I recognize this person. Here we go. So you can get to know a little bit more about Laura Piland right there. And like I said, she is from Slice of Pie Quilts. And we're just so thrilled to welcome you here to My Girlfriend's Quilt Shop. All right. Tell us about this pattern.
This is really exciting. Yeah.
It is.
The Exploding Heart pattern has kind of exploded.
Yes, it has. No pun intended,
That's
right?
right. And so this pattern in this box is exclusive to My Girlfriend's Quilt Shop. It's not sold anywhere else except in this box.
And it's because it's a mini version.
It is a mini. That's right. It's smaller. So the original one was 72 inches square, and this one is only 45 inches square.
Very doable.
Oh, very,
right?
Yes.
And great for a wall-size quilt.
Yeah, like a wall hanging, like the one behind us.
Yes. I love it. So again, this is an exclusive to My Girlfriend's Quilt Shop. We're so grateful for that. And this fabric on here is just stunning.
It's really, really fabulous. Yes.
Because let's take a look at what's inside. We have these beautifully curated fat quarters that Laura has selected for us. Look at how those colors just, they just melt into each other, don't they?
I love it. Yeah. We go from light to dark here too. So, it's a good mix.
We have lots of variations here. Makes it for some great movement on the quilt and great texture.
Yeah. And if you pair it with black, as we did with the one behind us, it's really makes these colors pop.
Oh, absolutely.
You can do it with white too, because they would still pop.
Yeah.
I talk a lot about too that you want to make sure the background you pick contrasts with these fabrics. So if you wanted to pick light pink, it would be really similar to this one. And so this fabric is going to kind of blend in and not show.
So you maybe want to keep that one out?
You could keep this one out.
Or maybe make sure it's in the heart.
That's true.
More
you
so,
could do
right?
it that way. Yep. Or you could just pick a background fabric that contrasts more and use white or black.
Yeah. I think even a gray would be really pretty.
Would, yeah.
So yeah, lots of choices here. And let's go ahead and get started with the cutting, shall we?
Okay, so in this pattern, we're going to cut squares, and then we're going to make quarter square triangles from our squares. And so we cut our fat quarters into squares, and then we also cut our background fabric into squares.
Okay.
And so we're going to use, here, do we want to talk about this too before we open it?
Yeah, why don't we? This is the finishing kit that we have put together for this quilt, if this is the quilt that you'd like to make. And you're going to see here that we have the binding fabric, as well as we're going to use this beautiful batik black, which has a very slight mottled look to it.
And even though it's solid, it is a batik fabric, which means it's gone through the same process as this, and it's shrunk those fibers, and so it sews really
It still has that same hand, doesn't it?
It has the same hand, yeah.
And then this is going to be for our backing fabric. All right, so that is a separate purchase found at my girlfriend's quilt shop. And let's go ahead. You said you wanted background, correct?
We'll need the background.
Okay, that's right. Perfect.
So when I'm cutting, I like to layer more than one at one time. Again, saving time.
Definitely.
So I'll fold them or lay a whole bunch out all at once to be able to cut several. I think do you just want to cut a couple?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that.
So we can show what to do here.
Yeah.
Okay, so for this pattern, we're going to start by cutting 4-inch squares. Is this a ruler we have?
Yes.
Okay, well then I'm going to do it different. Okay, so I'm used to a really long ruler that would cut the whole length of this, but since it's not, I'm going to leave it folded. And then when I cut, I lay the fold line on a straight line, and that's how you can make sure that your fabric doesn't have like a weird bend in it when you...
Now, are we worried about some of the wrinkles in here? Or is it slight enough that we're going to go ahead and keep cutting?
I'm just going to go ahead and do it.
Let's do it. I guess I would say if yours really is quite wrinkled, then you probably want to go ahead and take it to the ironing board and give it a little press,
I would agree, right? Yes. But like here, these are like, this is up by the selvage edge, so I'm not going to worry about that because I'll be trimming it off.
Perfect.
But you're right. If there was a big crease in there, I would definitely iron it first.
Okay.
But in this case, I think these are going to be fine. So you see me like brushing the fabric. So I do that to feel if there are wrinkles underneath there, and I can feel them up here.
Definitely.
But I'm not.
You're not getting to that point.
I don't think I'm going to be cutting up there. So, so I'm first going to cut off just a little bit off the edge to get a straight side over here. Okay. And a lot of people ask me, like, do you cut using the ruler or do you cut using the mat? Yeah. What do you do?
Usually I do the ruler, but oftentimes I will use the mat to be my best friend as well. It's kind of like it goes hand in hand.
It does. So for this one, the squares are bigger than the width of my ruler. And so I'm going to use the mat. And in this case, my ruler matches the mat measurements. So I'm going to think that this is fine. Yeah. So when I line it up, I'm looking at the 1-inch line and lining that up. Like I'm looking through the ruler on the 1-inch line at the line on the mat. Okay. So then that way I know the side is lined up. It's just easier to look at the lines that are over instead of the edge.
Makes sense.
So that's how I do that.
Okay.
And so I'm going to do 4-inch squares. So I'm going to scoot over. Oh, I don't know if I did it. We'll see. Oh, it did.
There we go.
Okay, let's do a couple more here just so we have plenty to play with today.
Okay. So are we cutting all of these to end up being the same size, Laura?
Yep. Okay, we need all of our fat quarters cut into the same. Exactly. Yeah. And the background too. So the background, we have 2 different size squares to cut because we do some of them that are just going to be plain squares that we use sewn into the background of the quilt. And then some of them we use to be sewn as the quarter square triangles. Okay. So we do a little bit of both for that one. I'm going to turn these around. I'm right-handed, so I like to cut from the right.
That's so interesting because I'm right-handed and I like to cut from the left.
Oh, that's funny.
Isn't it crazy? But you know what? Different strokes for different folks. You get the same results.
Whatever works for you is the right way.
Yeah.
That's one thing I really love about quilting because there's a lot of different ways to do the same thing.
Definitely.
And like it's not right or wrong. I don't have any quilt police that I know. So.
Exactly. I'm right there with you.
And I usually make quilts for us to use. And I have never had my kids or my husband say that, like, this quilt isn't warm enough because those corners don't match up. I've never said it.
Good point. That is so, so true. I'm going to remember that next time.
That's right. Doesn't really matter. Okay, so I've cut some squares here for us to start.
Okay.
And then we're going to do the same thing with some of the background fabric. And then this one... So if you're at home, I would recommend a large cutting mat like this one and a longer ruler.
Okay. Well, I can pull out a longer ruler for you.
Look at that.
We
like
can
magic.
Do that.
Like
yes.
magic. She actually has it, right?
We can absolutely do that.
Oh, this is going to be so much better. Okay. Because this is a lot of yardage, and so it's hard to keep it folded and keep it straight. So let's see. I don't want to accidentally cut those. So, but I'm going to do the same thing I said before. I'm going to line up this factory fold with the bottom of the cutting mat there. And then we're going to line up, look at a long ruler. We're going to line it up again, just like I did before. I'm going to look through the ruler at the 1-inch line so that I can get the ruler lined up. And I'm just going to cut off this edge because I don't know if you can see it. But
there's a little bit of difference there for sure.
And it could be because of that fold right down here,
and oftentimes we really can't trust what comes off of the bolt. The way it gets wrapped around the bolt, the machines that wrap the fabric, sometimes it can get a little skewed. So you always want to do a little straightening up before you cut.
Okay. How many should we cut?
Let's do another one. Yeah.
Okay. And so right now I'm only cutting the ones that we would need for the quarter square triangles. But if you were doing this, you'd also want to cut the ones that are for the background. At the same time, because they're a little bit of a different size.
Okay.
Okay, so here I am going to cut across this way, like not how I like to do it. So if I was at home, I would actually walk around to the other side of the table.
That makes it pretty convenient if you've got both sides of the table, right?
Yes, yeah. So I like to not cut across. Like my arm just doesn't really go that way. So I would normally walk around to the side and cut so that I was cutting like this direction from the side of the table. But I'm going to cheat and do it this way.
Okay.
It's just not as...
we can always turn it around too and do it that way. Have it go horizontal.
I could turn the mat or even turn just the fabric like I did on the fat quarters.
But this is working out great, Laura.
It's working out fine, yeah.
Yeah.
We just get into the way that we always do things, right? Like at home, we all have our own setup that works for us. So
I'm going to go ahead and press this for you.
Okay.
While you're finishing cutting.
Okay, this one got moved just a bit. There we go. Okay, so once we get these cut, then we're ready to start sewing the blocks. So it doesn't take very long to cut this up and be ready.
No, the cutting seems really simple and straightforward.
That's right. It's just squares.
Yep. Okay.
Okay. So then you'll want to refer to the pattern for all of the different blocks. There's 5 different blocks. Like some of the blocks are just black squares, and that's like for the background. And then some of them you're going to pair a black and one of the red fabrics.
Okay.
And then others you're going to mix up and you're going to do like 2 red fabrics. So you'll have to read the pattern to make sure you do the right combination for the block that you're doing.
Because there's so many of each combination that you're going to do to make this quilt,
That's
correct?
right. That's right. Yeah. So we're going to start by doing... Look, can I show it on here?
Definitely.
We're going to start with this block here.
Okay.
That just has 1 red triangle, and then the rest of it is black.
Okay, perfect.
So that's what we're going to do.
Let's see how it's done.
Okay, so by taking one of the background squares and one of the red squares. That's how we're going to start.
Okay.
And then we need to draw a line on here from corner to corner. Now, this is just a way to make quarter square or half square triangles, you know, so maybe some of you already know that. So you can use like a ruler like this.
Lots of different ways, like we were talking about before.
That's right, whatever works for you. That's right. So you can use one of these and a pencil, a pen, a disappearing pen, a fabric pen, I mean anything really.
Yeah.
And you can just draw that line on there.
And of course, we're going to recommend you're doing it on these red fabrics because the black isn't going to show unless you have a chalk pencil.
That's right. So there's options for that too. That's right. So you can see that line that I drew on there, corner to corner.
And our goal here is to sew 1/4 inch on both sides of that line, correct?
That's correct. So what we're going to sew, and that's actually going to make 2 half square triangles at the same time. So that's what we're aiming for right now. But if you don't like to draw lines, because maybe that takes too much time.
That's right.
But wait, there's more. There's more options.
There is.
And so we have this. You want to talk about that little gadget?
Well, we love the diagonal seam tape. This is from Cluck Cluck Sew. And if you take a look, this is basically a washi tape, if you will. You just put it, tear a piece of it, put it on the top of your sewing machine bed. In fact, we'll show you that here up close in just a minute. But you have lines already drawn for you.
That's right.
That you're just matching up your corner to corner right there. So
for that, you would tear off a piece and put it in front of the needle on your sewing machine. And then you don't draw a line. But what you do is as you sew, you put the corners of the block on the black line. So you just keep the corner on the black line as it feeds through your needle, and then you didn't have to draw the line.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
I love that.
It's a great time saver.
Then, of course, we have the Quilter's Magic Wand. Have you ever used one of these?
I don't think I have.
Okay, you're going to love this, Laura, because what you do here is that, do you see how it has this diagonal line going right down the middle? We're going to put that at each corner, just like this, and we'll draw a line on each side. That way, your 1/4 inch is already marked, and you sew directly on the 1/4 inch on each side.
Oh, okay. So then you can sew right on the line.
You sew right on the line. So see, so many different ways of doing this.
But wait, there's more. There's another way too.
Exactly. And that's with a beautiful machine such as the one we're playing on today, right?
That's right.
Okay, this is the Baby Lock Altair. And if you take an up close look right here, let's go ahead and take a look at my screen first. If I'm at my screen, those of you who have a guide beam on your machine, ooh, the heavens are going to open, folks, right here. Here we go. I'm going to touch my guide beam and take a look at that, Laura. And if you put your fabric up there, now you have your diagonal line that way.
That's right.
So again, lots of ways to get it.
And can you move that line of
you
like your needle?
You can move the line.
Yeah.
Yes, you can move the line, you can move the needle, and it works wonderfully. And as we mentioned before, we have the diagonal seam tape as well, which you can use in that way.
That's right. So the laser shines on top of the fabric, and so I do tend to like that better. But this is underneath the fabric. But either way, you're just trying to get the corners in that line, like either the laser line or on this. And so as you feed it through, you're just trying to get that corner to stay on the line, and that'll sew it. And then you don't have to draw the lines.
No, you don't.
There's no wrong ways here.
That's right.
You can just do whatever works for you.
Exactly. So, Laura, which way would you like to do it?
Well, we already drew the line, so I'm going to go with that.
Let's go for it. Yes. So we'll go ahead and lift up our presser foot. Whoop.
Oh, sorry.
There we go.
I don't know what I'm doing.
No, you're great.
She's just
wonderful.
pushing buttons.
There we go. We're going to have, let's see, our needle in the center position.
Yes.
And we'll go ahead and follow those lines. I'm going to help you out by still marking the lines so that we are tag teaming.
We're going to get this
and
done.
We are making it go.
Okay.
Doesn't everyone wish they had a second person there to help?
I'll just take you home in my suitcase.
Mark my lines, right? So I'm happy to do that.
This is my first time using a machine like that.
Oh,
she pushed a button and then it went fast. I like that.
I like that is way too slow for you, girl.
I agree, it was, but I didn't know how to fix it.
So right here, I looked over and that speed control was all the way down.
It was on slow.
Okay.
It was on.
All right, there we go.
was on turtle. Oh, funny. Well, we're on rabbit speed now.
That's right.
Do I need to do anything with the presser foot or anything? It's
nope,
it's fine. It'll just keep going. Okay.
And then we can talk about chain piecing these babies.
She's teaching me new things with a new machine.
That's right.
I'll put that in my suitcase too. I'll just take this out.
Yes. I can help you with that.
Okay, so I got to the end. See, I sewed this line on here, and then I just kind of pull a little bit away, and I turn it around, and then I do the other side right there while I'm on there.
And you can just go ahead and with your foot down.
On the pedal?
Uh-huh.
I don't have to put the presser foot back down.
It's going to go down. Ta-da! It's magic.
It's so smart. Wow. Okay, and then it has a scissors button. I'm not going to push it.
It does.
Oh, look at that. Look at that. Okay, so see, we have this one sewn. So we had a background and a red fabric. And so now we can come over here and we can cut these apart right down the middle. So I'm lining this up again with corner to corner. And like magic. Ta-da. Ta-da. Okay, so we have 2 half square triangles. So when you put 2 squares together, it ends up with 2 half square triangles.
Love it.
But half square triangles aren't what we're making.
That's right.
We're making quarter square triangles. So after you have these half square triangles, before we move on, we need to press these before we can keep sewing.
Definitely.
So let's go over to the pressing station and do that.
Perfect.
Okay, so when I press, when I'm using a black, that's the darkest fabric, and so I press those to the dark side. So I press the seam to go on top of the black.
Okay.
Some people press these open, which you definitely can. That's, again, personal preference, I'm not going to.
Do you like to press from the front as well, or do you only do it from the back?
Look at her. She probably does it different than me, dude.
No, it's okay. No. I
have no idea. No, I normally just press once because I don't have time.
Yeah.
Like, I just do what works.
I love it, yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Okay, so now
I'm just asking the questions that someone might be thinking out there, like, does she press?
I'm sure they were all.
Does she press from the front too?
They're probably all questioning my decisions.
No,
right?
No. Hey, you're the expert here. So
okay, so I'm actually going to now just use one.
Okay.
So I'm going to take one of our half square triangles and now another background fabric, and we're going to put it on there, and then watch what will happen. Look at that. See? We're going to do it again, but now we'll end up with just our one triangle.
I love that.
In the square. Okay, so when you do this, there's a couple things to note. So the first thing is that you see there are different sizes.
They are.
That's totally fine.
Yeah.
You just center it and you go with it because we're going to trim these up at the end.
Yes.
So it doesn't matter. So, and by center, I don't mean like we measured it and centered it.
No one's
You just like look and put it down. And that's how much time we have for that.
You're gonna eyeball it.
You eyeball it. There's no,
I like that.
And then we can draw a line on here again if we want.
Go ahead.
Okay. Let's see, I'm going to try out your tool here to see if we can draw on both sides. So this time we're drawing on the black fabric, which might not work. So we might have to turn on our little laser because I don't have a chalk pen. But I bet the diagonal seam tape will help with this too.
Yes, it will.
I think it will. So let's sew this one.
All right.
Okay, so I'm going to push this button because that's what she told. Oh, that's so cool. Okay, then I'm going to sew just like before from one end. And now look, see, I can't see the line, but it perfectly lined up with the diagonal seam tape.
Yes.
So it's totally fine. Yeah. So I'm just going to keep the line. Look at that. So then for this one, though, I'm actually going to cut. Because, so normally,
you would kind of turn it around.
Normally I would turn it around, but then I don't know where to sew this time because I don't have a line. So because we figured that out, I'm going to turn it and sew now on this side. So now I'm going to line it up. Pushing the wrong buttons here. So I'm going to sew again starting on the side I can see. Yeah. And then when I get to this bottom, now it's lined up with the opposite side of this diagonal seam tape. And I can just keep going. There we go.
Oh, nice.
It was like a little workaround, right? It worked out. So see, we got it. And the same thing as before. Now we're going to cut down the middle. Okay. So I'm going to come over here and do that.
All right. Now, because they're going to be doing a whole lot of these, another thing that they could do is chain piece them one right after the other, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I like to get all my pieces actually like set out, and then I can chain piece.
That's
all
a
at
great
once.
idea.
Yeah.
Kind of do each, if you have got 5 different styles of blocks, do one of each, and then, I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then because I have 3 boys and my sewing time is sometimes short, I might have like, I'll say I'm going to go change out the laundry. And as I go down the stairs, I'll stop at the sewing area. Wow. I know, shame on me, right?
She's sneaky.
And so I'll lay out like the pieces because I might only get 3 minutes of extra time. So, but then the next time I come down and I have a little extra time, they're ready to sew.
Oh my God.
So I'm always like trying to sneak in little...
the multitasker to the nth degree.
I try. Okay, so here is our piece that we sewed. And look, when we open it up, there's our first block done.
I love it. So we're going to press this out.
That's right. We're going to press this again. Yep.
And then we have to square them up.
That's right. And it actually made 2.
Nice.
At the same time. And
okay, so I'm going to go ahead and press this for you.
Okay, go for it.
And then you set up for
the next block.
Or for squaring it up.
Oh, let's do that. Yeah, let's do that first.
Okay.
I see that you press a little differently than I do.
Yes.
Yes, tell me how you press.
Well, I always like to set my seam first. And so by just placing a little bit of heat on that seam, and then I bring it out and open and
you press from
towards
the front
dark
side?
I do.
Oh, I like that we do it
but
different.
I know. I love that too. So it's okay. It's perfectly okay to do that.
And I wanted to point out too that we still pressed to this darker piece over here because this is really bulky here.
Yes.
But some people do like to press that seam open, and you can do that too because that would reduce the bulk in the corners when we then sew the blocks together.
Very true.
Either whatever way works for you is the right way.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to trim this up.
Okay.
And see how they do that. So I like to use rotating mats.
I do too. I'm a huge fan. Yes.
Okay, so in this particular pattern, because we're making the a normal exploding heart smaller.
Yes.
So we're going to trim these blocks to 3 inches square.
Okay.
And so inside the box is a 3.5-inch ruler, but we're going to have to do a little...
Going to play around with it.
That's right, to make it so we can use it for 3-inch blocks.
Okay.
So what you need is...
the easiest way to do this,
That's right. So you need some type of tape. It doesn't matter what kind of tape. Like this is like a removable tape, and it's bright colored so you can see it on the video.
Yeah.
But like you could use this diagonal seam tape because you had it laying around.
Yeah.
You could use painter's tape, washi tape, whatever you have, some kind of tape, okay? And then we're going to change this ruler into a 3-inch ruler.
Ooh,
it's like magic.
Okay, I like it.
Okay, so
how are we going to do that?
I'm going to use the cutting mat, on like either any cutting mat you have, to look at the lines on the cutting mat to find 3 inches.
Okay,
so you can see on this one, it goes to 3.5. See how it goes over there, but we need only to 3. Yes.
Okay.
So I'm going to use my tape, and I'm going to line it up right there at that intersection of where the 3-inch line was. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. So 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to pick that up and move. See, I can move the tape, and I'm going to line it up with a 3.
I love that.
So I have a 3-inch right there and 3-inch on this side. And I have a new diagonal line now.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So now, and you could probably do this with any ruler.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
You can change it this way. So now I have a 3-inch diagonal line this way, and I still have my diagonal on the ruler that goes the other
centering line.
That's right.
I like that. Okay.
Okay. So, and you can put it on the top side or the bottom side of your ruler. It doesn't really matter.
Okay.
And then we're just going to trim off the tape. You got to teach me the ways of the ruler.
Yeah.
I'm just going to trim off this extra tape.
Okay. Just to have it even with the ruler.
That's right. So it's not going to get in our way.
Okay.
Like I'm going to mess up the ruler, the rotary cutter with the tape. Oh, man. Okay. And then cut it off this side.
Okay.
And now we won't have to do any, changes. We can just use it for all of the blocks.
Okay.
Okay. So now, get this tape out of the way here. So we have our block. Here's our ruler that we just changed. You want to remember that we're doing on the small side. Like, we adjusted it. This side was not where we lined up our tape. We lined it up
on the 3-inch mark.
Yes, on this side. And now, where the intersection, hopefully they can see that on our cutting mat. The intersection of this diagonal line and our new diagonal tape line, right there is the center of the block. So now we can line that up.
Help us make sure that it's centered on all 4 sides.
That's right. So see, you can see through the ruler if you are in that exact center spot, and you can use this diagonal line and the tape.
I love using that bright tape too, because it actually shows up really well.
It does. It's really helpful to just, even if you're just cutting like on your regular ruler, you can add tape like this, and so that you can remember which line to cut on.
I love that.
Okay, so then this way I'm going to cut on these 2 sides. So I'm going to cut on this side and this one.
Turn.
Oh, she's going to turn it a little bit. Okay.
Make it a little bit easier on your hands.
Okay, so I've trimmed off these 2 sides.
Okay.
And then we're going to turn this, but I didn't turn the ruler. And because I can't turn the ruler because this is my small side to make my 3 inches.
Right.
You know? So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to line up that center spot with the center of the block. See? And see how the edge is right at that 3-inch spot?
And this centering line, let's move your hand here, is also still on that diagonal line as well. So you've got 2 ways to really make sure it's centered. You have this diagonal line going this way, this diagonal going this way. Now you know what to trim up.
That's right.
I love it. And know that you're going to have a little bit more on that side because it was bigger, right?
That's right.
When we had
correct. Remember, that's right. When we sewed those 2, the half square triangle with that, we had extra of the background. So that's right. We had a little bit extra to trim off. You're right. And so that's it. Look at that. We made our first block completely.
Should we measure, make sure it's absolutely correct?
Look at that.
1, 2, 3, and 1, 2,
Perfect.
3. I love it.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. So we're going to do this as many times as it tells us in the pattern.
That's right. We're going to make a whole bunch of these. And I want to point out too that you don't want to use the same fabric to make all of these. So if you have all of your squares like that you've already cut from the fabric, and you have them like piled up, you know, you don't actually want to pick the same fabric and do this again.
You want to make it as spread as possible.
That's right. So when you look at the quilt back here, you can see that they're all mixed up. And that's part of the pattern, like that it's all random.
Yes.
So you want to make sure that like for the next one, you pick a different fabric from the pile to sew that same block.
Yeah, makes sense.
That's right. And so, you're just going to keep going and make more of these.
Yay! So, okay, so we have a bunch that have just 1 piece of red in that quarter square triangle. What's next?
Okay, so the next block has 2 reds. In there.
2 reds, 2 blacks.
That's
all right.
Okay, so this time it's almost exactly the same. Like you're just doing the same steps over and over, right? So this time we are going to take background fabric and the red, put it together, and draw our line on there.
Which we've already done.
That's right. This one already has the lines.
All we did was we used the magic wand and drew a line on both sides.
And then we're going to sew that, and then I still have one left over from last time. Remember how we had extra? So for this, we can use that one. So we're going to sew this one to make a half square triangle. And then we're going to have this one.
I love it.
Do you see where this is going?
Yes.
Then look, when we put them together and sew it again, look what's going to happen.
2 different reds, same black. I love it.
That's right.
Yes.
Okay, so let's take this one to the sewing machine and we're going to sew this one just like the first one.
Let's do it.
Okay. Oh, I got to remember how to push the buttons. Look. Oh, I got it.
Nice. I love that you're just pulling it out a little bit and then
just
going
enough.
back.
That's great. Yep. And so it's like chain piecing, but it's on the same piece, you know? I love that the sewing machine lets me just keep going too.
Definitely.
There we go.
Perfect.
Done.
Okay.
It's so fast. Okay, so then we're going to trim right down the middle again. Okay, so here we are. Remember, every time it makes 2. So we have 2 of these. So I'll set one aside. We're going to go press this here in a second, but I just want to show you. Then we take 2 of those, and we're going to put them together. Notice that I have them together the opposite sides, right? And so that way when you open it up, it's going to make this.
Awesome.
Great.
Okay, so you're going to go ahead and press that?
Yeah, let's press this.
I'll tell you, hourglass blocks are my absolute favorite to make.
Oh, really?
Yes, they're absolutely the most fun block to make. I just love how they come together.
And then if you have Best Press or something, you can spray that on there and get the seams flatter.
Definitely.
If you like that, yeah.
Okay. We love flat seams.
So now we're going to pair these up. And now this is kind of a magical moment.
It is.
Because if you've pressed to the side, like to the dark side, then what happens is when you scoot these two on top of each other, you can feel the seams lock against each other. And that's how you can get perfect middles.
Yes, yes.
So I just like kind of offset it, and then I scoot the fabric over, and you just feel it lock in place. And look, it makes like,
I love it.
Perfect. I know,
right?
And
that's when you squeal and when you open it up and it's almost like Christmas, you're opening up a present.
Yes.
I don't know. I'm such a dork like that, but I just get all giddy when it's perfect,
when it's perfect
in the middle.
yeah. That's the secret to getting it that way. So I've lined up the edges as best as possible, right? They're not always going to be perfectly lined up because we don't always sew perfect, and it's totally fine.
Yeah.
So I've just lined up the edges as much as I can. I've made sure the center is,
I think that's the most important part, is making sure that center is butting up against each other.
And now we're going to sew the opposite direction, just like we did before. And so you're going to want to draw your line again.
Okay.
So I'm going to use this tool here.
There you go.
And again, we're not using a color that doesn't show up on the black, but I'm going to kind of use the line and the tape. So you can use whatever method works for you, but this is the way we're kind of doing it today. So I have my lines, and I'm ready to sew this one.
Okay.
So here we go. We're going to line this up. Well, I didn't line it up very good. Try again. There it is. Okay. So I started sewing on the line, and then now I can make sure that stays in line with the corner there. I don't have to push. I'm so can you tell that my machine has the I always reach around to do it.
Yep.
We are creatures of habits.
Absolutely. Love it. Oh,
I can't undo my habit.
Here's the moment of truth, though.
Okay, here we go. Let's see if we did okay. Ta-da!
Oh my goodness,
so good.
It looks really good.
Okay,
nice
so
job.
Here we go. We're going to cut this one apart.
Okay. Oh, I love this.
And we just made 2 of those.
Yay.
So we can press those. Now, see, here again, this is where you can press to the side, but it does start to get bulky in the center.
Right.
And so you can definitely press that open, and it reduces that bulk in the center if you like that. So
absolutely.
I'm usually just about being fast. And so I usually press to the side just so that I can get done faster. But if you want to take the extra time.
Have you ever spun your seams?
So I don't usually do that because it takes more time.
Okay.
That's funny. But
okay. All right, so you're going to go ahead and press those.
That's right.
All right.
I'll press those. Look, should we do one way and one the other way?
Sure.
So we can see the difference?
Yeah.
Okay, so, and look, I'm pressing from the back, which she said she doesn't do, but okay.
I know,
so
that's okay though.
Yep. Okay, so I press this one to the side, and then this one I'm going to press open, just so we can see the difference.
Okay.
See how it's a little more time consuming to get it perfect, but it does reduce that bulk in the center.
Definitely.
There we go. So then from the front, when you feel it, you can feel a thickness difference.
Absolutely.
So this one, you can feel more bulk in there. So,
yeah.
Okay, we ready?
Okay, yes. Let's square those up.
We are ready to do this again. Okay, so we have our square ruler. It makes me nervous to put the warm blocks down. It's such a habit that I can't break. Like, I don't want to ruin the cutting mat, so I have to wait for it to cool off just a bit. Okay, so remember we have our 3-inch side that we created. And so we're going to line up the diagonal of the block with our tape that we put on there. And then we're going to line up the other diagonal with the line on the ruler. And then we're going to cut these 2 sides off first. And you can see this one, I must have used a little bit too big of a seam allowance because I don't have much to trim off on this side at all.
That's why I love, being able to make blocks a little bit larger, and then you're just giving it a little trim, just a little haircut, and it's now going to be perfect.
It gives you a little bit of wiggle room to not be perfect.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I've done the same thing. I've lined up the diagonal with the diagonal on the block. This diagonal is lined up this way. And so then I'm going to trim off these last 2 sides. There we go.
Oh, I
and
love
look,
it.
so we had our first block and how they mismatch up perfectly.
I love
it's gonna
it.
be so good, right?
Oh, it is.
Okay,
oh my
so
goodness.
we have
this
those
is fun.
done. It's fantastic.
I love it.
So I'm going to set this one aside. We can do that later. So now we're ready to do another block. Are you ready for that?
Yes.
Okay.
What's the pairing going to be now?
Now we're going to do 2 red ones together.
Oh, okay.
Ooh, it's going to be different.
Let's see.
And again, we're just using 2 of the same fabrics, but you would want to mix these up.
Definitely.
Like you want to use a different one each time.
And like you said, it's a batik, so it really doesn't matter.
That's right. You can't even tell, right?
No.
And you don't have to worry about it. Don't worry about it. Like don't spend the time like thinking about it. Just put them together and sew.
I love it.
Okay, so same thing as we did before. We're putting 2 together. We're going to draw the line from corner to corner, or however, whatever method you're using. And then sew on either side of the line if you just draw one line. But it's the same thing over and over. So I like to focus on one block at a time. So I'll make like all of the first block and then
just to get into a rhythm,
that's right. Yes. And so you can chain piece and you kind of get like, oh, this is how I square these up.
Right.
And you square them all up at the same time.
Yeah.
So, okay. Now we're ready to sew this one.
Okay, let's do it.
It goes pretty fast though. Let's see. How long does it take for me to learn a new sewing machine?
You're doing great.
Just pull it a little bit and then it's ready to go. The scissors button is like my favorite thing.
Oh my goodness. It's a game changer.
It really is.
Once you have the scissors on a sewing machine, to go back to sewing on something, you're like, wait a minute, where's that button, right?
Yes. And you don't have to like pull the threads up after each time. So that saves time too. See, I'm all about saving time. Okay, so this time
thread too.
Oh, it does. Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about it that way.
Yeah.
Okay, so this time, so remember the first time we made these, it was black and red. But this time, it's like 2 different reds.
Right.
So now let's go press these.
Would you want to have 2 completely different reds to do this together now, or would it matter?
Yeah, so you don't want to use 2 of the same. So like these, say like these 2 here, you wouldn't want to use this.
Right.
Because they'll just blend together and it won't look like 2 separate fabrics.
Yes.
So you just pick 2 different fabrics. But then the next time you might pick the same fabric, but then a different.
Yeah, you might go with something like these 2 fabrics.
That's right.
And then you would match them up with these 2 fabrics.
Correct.
Right?
That's right.
Okay.
But you can reuse this one, with one of these too. Like you just mix it up and be random with whatever you have. Yep.
Okay. Nice.
Okay, so we're going to press this one. And again, it doesn't matter that much on these, which side, like which one's darker. Sometimes you don't know. Just pick a side and go with it.
Okay, I like it. Pick a side.
Pick a side. Okay, so now, kind of cool them off. Okay, so now for this block, we're going to use one of our solid blacks. And again, remember what happens is when you put it on there,
it's going to be bigger.
It's going to be bigger. Because we've already sewn this one, so it kind of shrunk up in the seams.
Right.
But you pair it on there, and then watch what's going to happen this time.
Oh, yes. I love that.
So it's going to be a block that's half black, and then it has 2 of the colors.
Super fun. Okay? I love that.
So same thing as we did before. Once you put it on there, you need to draw your line or whatever method you're using from the corners, like opposite the seam you already sewed.
So you're going perpendicular into it. It's like an intersection.
I love the math words that you use. I love it. That's right. So we have
a former math teacher.
That's right. I was a math. I know we have 2 teachers here. So
I love it.
Okay, so now we're going to sew on either side of this one.
Okay. So how long were you a math teacher, Laura?
Oh, that's a good question. About 5 years.
And you taught middle school?
I did teach middle school.
Oh my
middle
goodness.
School. That's my
Can you imagine? It was your favorite age?
I love it.
No way.
Yes. I actually taught at a school where they had preschool all the way up to older kids.
Oh.
And when I was having a bad day, I would actually go to the preschool and sit in those classes and just be like, yep, I'm good with middle school.
I'm good with middle school. That's all it took, right?
That's right.
I love it.
The little ages aren't necessarily my favorite.
Oh, I bet your students loved you.
Oh, we had a good time. We celebrated Pi Day.
Oh, well, of course.
Yeah, on March 14th. So, because my last name's Piland. So we had Pi Day celebrations every year.
Oh, that's awesome. They'll never forget that.
That's right. Okay, so there we go.
Okay.
So we trimmed it. So then we press it and then trim the whole block.
Okay.
So that's it.
So let's go ahead and press those.
Yep.
And then we'll trim that up. And then we just have one more block to go, right?
I think so.
Wow.
This is super fast, like to get through all of these.
It looks way more difficult than it is. I think you've done an amazing job of being able to, wrap this around in our minds and then do it.
Yeah, I love making quilts that look more complicated than they are.
Yes. Definitely.
Okay, so here we go again, right? We have our 3-inch side that we're using. We line up our diagonal line that we made with the diagonal line there. The diagonal line going the other way, and then trim this one off.
Okay.
Okay, so then I'm going to spin, and I can do the other sides. So again, diagonal line, and then I'm using this side to make sure this diagonal is matched up. And because that black square was bigger, that's why it looks like we're trimming off more than we did on the colored side.
Ah, yeah.
Look at that.
Oh my goodness.
See how the corner goes right into the corners? Yes. So we know when we sew them together, it's going to match up perfectly.
Oh,
look at that.
This is so fun. Oh my goodness. One more block to go.
I actually think we have 2 blocks.
Oh, do we have 2 blocks?
I do think so.
Oh, okay.
It's okay.
Oh, yes. Yes, we do, because we need to have one corner of black.
Yeah, so we have this one that has 1 red.
And then we have
this one that has
red.
2 red.
Yes.
And we have this one that has 2 red. So now we need one with 3 reds.
3 reds, 1 black.
And then we'll have one with 4 reds.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, so for this one, we're going to do the 2 reds together again.
Okay.
Oh, like magic, I already have one done.
Yeah, right? That's right.
And then we're going to use one that has 1 black and 1 red. Again, I already have one done, right?
Yeah.
So we're just going to use the ones we've already sewn in order to do this. And so this one just needs a little bit of pressing.
All right.
But then we're going to put
go ahead and do that.
Okay, hold on. I want to show them.
Oh, yeah.
How it's, because I want to make sure I get my colors.
The reds are not
so normally you would have used 3 different fabrics,
right?
But we didn't. And sometimes this happens when you sew your quilt too, especially when you start to put the blocks into rows.
Yes. And the question is it any less warm?
That's right. That's right.
If you do by mistake, it's okay.
That's right. So right here in this instance, if I put it this way, I would notice I have those 2 same fabrics together, and I just don't want to do it if I can help it.
Right.
But if I switch this piece around, then I'm going to be able to avoid that and put them separate. And so that's what I try to do, and especially when I'm lining them up in rows too.
It's almost like you audition that block before you even go to sew it.
That's right.
Which is going to save you a lot of time in the long run.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for this one, I'm going to still, and if you notice, the seam underneath here was pressed that way. So I want to make sure the seam on top is pressed the opposite way, which does happen to be towards our dark.
Yeah,
so
it does.
It's going to work out fine.
Okay. Alrighty.
Okay.
Look at me.
Oh, she's going to cool it off for me. I love it. Okay, so then remember, we're just going to slide those together until I can feel right underneath there that they are stuck together.
Okay.
And I lined up these edges pretty good. I'm going to check it one last. Yep, that's the way I want it to go. And then remember, we're going to be drawing our line or, whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
But you do it the opposite way of the seam you've already sewn.
Right.
So we're going to sew this way here.
Okay.
Oh, I'm getting efficient.
You are.
By the time we make this whole quilt, I would have this down, right?
And you can take this machine home with you.
You heard her. You heard her say it. Let's hold her to it. Oh, that's funny. Okay, so then we just keep going. Sometimes right here, the seam will kind of flip up on you. And so I will use a stiletto or my fingernail on the side. Not in front, because you don't want to sew through your finger.
Right.
But here on the side, if you kind of notice as it's approaching that it might be flipped over, you can just kind of tuck it down, and then you can keep going.
Make sure and lift up that foot, and you're going to be golden.
No, just like that, we're going to have another one done.
Okay. Let's see what it looks
drum
like.
roll.
Oh, look at that.
Look at that. Okay, so we're going to press it. And again, this is one that has 4 seams there. So you could twirl them. You could press them. Are you really?
I am.
Oh, you want to try it?
Should we spin that? Okay.
I'm going to watch.
All right. All right. So what I do first is I set the seam, just give it in a quick press, then I pull it out. Okay, just like that. Now, when I take a look at the back, there's 2 ways you can spin this seam. A lot of times people will get confused as to which seam do I turn. One way is that whatever was the last seam you just sewn, the seam going across from it, you're going to unpick those stitches. And sometimes they just come out naturally. Yeah. Look, I didn't even use an unpicker and it's almost undone right there. You can do that and then you go from there. Or the other way is I take a look at this block and I say, okay, this seam's going this direction, same direction, same direction. Oops, that seam is not. That's the seam that needs to go this way. So when I pull it out, take a look.
Look at that.
We have done what's called spinning the seam. Give it a little press. And you have this 4 patch that matches, basically this is a 4 patch, right? You've got 4 different blocks going on here. And you have that. That makes a nice flat seam
there that way too. I
just
love that there's so many different ways. I love this. Okay, so now we're going to trim this up again. So I grab my little ruler on this small side here. So see, okay, so how many have we made? 3, 4? And already like my muscle memory has kicked in. And I don't really have to think too hard about lining this up every time.
It's going to be second nature, right?
That's right. So by the time you make all the blocks for this quilt, you will be a pro.
Yes. Turn on some good music, watch a good TV show, whatever it is, and just square them up all at the same time.
That's right. I turned the block that time instead of my turning mat. There we go. Okay, look at that.
I mean, look at how it makes a kind of a somewhat wonky block into just a perfect block.
It does.
By doing a little trim.
It really makes a difference to trim. If you skip that step and then later you'll wonder like why your blocks don't line up or something, the trimming really makes a big difference.
It does.
Yeah.
Okay, so
now we're ready for the last one.
Now we're ready for the last one, and this one is all 4 are red.
That's right. Okay. So we have 1 red, 2 red, 2 red, 3 red. Now we're going to do 4.
I love it.
Okay, so again, we're just going to do this with the 2 fabrics that we've cut, but you would want to do this with a mix of fabrics to make it kind of scrappy looking.
Sure.
But we're just going to do this to show the technique. So same as before, I did 2 red fabrics together. We're going to draw our line and sew it just like all the others. Wow. So it's just the same block repeated, and it just
depends on how many you do of each one. And again, all of those instructions are found in your pattern. And you just, I mean, this just is fun. I love this.
And then it just matters like how you pair up the fabrics to make each different block.
Everyone's going to be different. I love it. Look at you getting
I'm trying to go fast.
At this too.
I know, right? After you figure it out, right, then you can be faster.
Yeah. Perfect.
There we go. Now for this one, remember each time it makes 2 when you do this. And so normally you would now mix these up.
Right.
You would take
with 2 others.
That's right. You'd take a different one that you had made out of 2 reds.
Yeah.
And you would put it together. But we're not going to do that because we're just going to use what we have here because we're trying to be a little faster. And so now, again, see how I did that? I started to do it this way and I knew that would put those together. So I'm just going to do it the other way. And so see, with as little as 2 fabrics, how you can make the blocks work.
Absolutely.
So we're going to press these seams, and I'm going to press them both to the darker fabric side. So in this case, it's kind of this redder fabric.
Love it.
Okay. So now we're going to put those back together. So because I pressed to the dark side, the seams are going opposite directions, and that's what lets us feel that little perfect middle seam in there.
Love it.
Kind of lined up the edges as much as I could. Draw our line. There we go. Now we're ready to sew this one again. Now we're ready. And just like that, this block's already all done.
Wow. That was so fast.
I know. See, we get faster as we go. Look at that.
Oh my goodness. I love it.
Done. Okay, so which way should we press these?
Oh, it doesn't matter. You're the boss.
Oh, I think you're the boss.
Oh, I don't know.
All right, so see, I just go to one side because I just like to be fast.
Yeah.
I just have to get it done. So I don't really worry too much about things that take too much time.
Yeah.
I just want to get it done. So, okay, so we have the last block. We're going to trim that up the same way as all the others. See how this one's a little bit short over there? I was sewing too fast. But I don't let it bother me. I just use it anyways.
Okay, Laura, I think this is perfect time to just talk real quickly about GRIPPY. Have you ever heard of it?
Oh, I have heard of it.
Oh my goodness, have you ever used it?
I haven't. I'm excited to try it today.
Okay, this is a game changer. Okay. Anyone who has used this product absolutely loves it. And I'll tell you why. Because I was noticing that sometimes this has a little bit of a slip. And even if it does have, you know, a kind of a non-slip grip around the edges, sometimes there's a tendency to still have that happen. So one of the things that we love here at Girlfriends is GRIPPY. All you do is you're going to spray it on the back, and I'm going to do it kind of away from the fabric here. Yeah. So, and that's it.
Oh, it's like hairspray.
Yeah.
Okay.
And look.
Is it dry already?
It's already dry.
Okay.
It doesn't feel tacky.
Nothing,
It just feels fine, right?
Yeah.
But then when you put it, let's see, let me show it an example here of a product with GRIPPY and without GRIPPY. Okay, this is without GRIPPY. This is with GRIPPY.
You just changed it like that fast.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Isn't that amazing? So I just love to be able to share that with people because that's one of the biggest problems that we have as quilters is having our ruler slip.
Yeah.
To have this, it's going to last forever. And if it goes off a little bit, and still look, it's just as clear as can be.
It's anyway. Okay, I'm going to
try. There you go. Let's give it a try.
It's totally different now. Look at that. Look. That's amazing. That made such a difference. Wow.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm still lining up my diagonals here. Wow, okay. Look at that. I love it. Okay. So there we go. That's the last one. Okay, so look, we have 1, 2, 2, 3, 4. That's it.
Oh my goodness. You're going to feel like an absolute pro doing this. Like a quilting pro. Like, check out my quarter square triangles, right? I love it. Okay, Laura. We have these. We have a certain number we have to do. We have background blocks that we also do, which is just the black.
It's just a solid black. They're just a little, I mean, obviously they need to be this size, right?
So we would cut it down. 3-inch square as well.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. We could do that just so we have one to show.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do. Okay, so can't do it that way. I'm going to do it because I don't have a diagonal. So I'm going to use our regular ruler here.
Perfect.
Oh, and look, this one is 3 inches wide. So I
can
use the ruler. That's right.
Nice.
Okay, so then we have all the different kinds of blocks. Okay, so that's it.
Perfect. So it's like 6 different styles of blocks.
You got it.
Woo! Okay.
So at this point, if you have all of them that you've made, like you've made all these type and all this type, you're going to have a big stack, and you're going to feel really proud.
Yes.
And this is the fun part.
Okay.
So you have a design wall.
Yes.
Yes. So you want to make sure you have a design wall. And if you don't have one, do you have those in the shop? Do you have design walls?
We don't.
Oh,
no.
She should get those.
I should.
But what you can do is go to a store that's near you that not a quilt store, just like a dollar type store.
Yeah.
and you can get a vinyl tablecloth. And it'll have vinyl on one side, like the side we normally eat and clean, but the other side is flannel.
Yes.
And then you can just use like some of this tape and tape it, like painter's tape, up on the wall.
I love that.
And I don't even take the stuff down off my wall, like the pictures. I just hang it over the top.
Oh, do you really?
I do. Because I just hold it there temporarily.
Yes, right.
And then all of the blocks will stick to it.
Nice.
Because the flannel just is enough of like, you don't have to pin them or anything. They just stick on there.
Right.
And then that's going to really help. So you lay the blocks out like in the pattern.
Okay.
And you just follow along the picture and everything to make sure you put them in the right way.
Okay, let's go ahead. We're going to clear off our table here, and we're going to bring this quilt down here, and let's kind of see how this all fits together like a puzzle.
Okay.
Okay, Laura, that was so much fun.
It was.
Oh my goodness, I cannot wait to go home and make this. I mean, I've told you that I have never like really embraced batiks. And
I'm
now
going to turn you.
I'm thinking differently. It was fun to cut. It was fun to sew. It was fun to press because they get really nice and flat.
They did, yes.
I mean,
and there's not that much
blocks.
Fraying out, like when you trim the blocks. They don't fray that much either. Yeah.
I love it. And this quilt, let's take a look at this quilt now, finished in its entirety. This is absolutely stunning.
It's really
stunning.
Pretty.
Is there a better word out there for it? I don't know. It's gorgeous. So tell us a little bit about how this all comes together.
Yep. So now we're going to sew rows.
Okay.
And so we start at the top row.
Oh,
and so,
rows.
Yes.
Okay.
And so you start with one row and you follow the pattern and it tells you like how many of each block to put in the row.
Okay.
And so you just kind of follow along. And so like we'll pick a row that's close to us here.
Okay.
But like, so this would be out here.
Sure.
See how that kind of goes there?
Yeah.
And then next we would put the one with just one like this.
Okay.
And then another one right next to it, right?
But it's going to be just
turn it. Yep.
Okay.
And then this next one is the one that had 3 like this. See how this is kind of going?
Yes.
So you just have to follow the diagram and the pattern so you can make sure that you get it right. But you can kind of see each one.
That's why
is
I
the
think
same block.
When you talk about having
a design wall.
Design wall, yes. That's why this would be a big deal.
Absolutely. And what happens is we think we're being random and we'll start to lay out the top and it'll be so pretty and random.
Yes.
And then what starts to happen is towards the bottom, you'll be left with all of one color that you weren't really using the rest of the time like you thought you were.
Right.
So then when you get down here, you can be like, oh, I need one of these 3 blocks.
Yes.
And you can take it from somewhere else and trade it out to kind of mix in the fabrics that you got to the end and didn't have any left.
Okay.
And I'm guilty of it. I have a quilt that I did one, because I've made this quilt lots of times in different fabrics. And I have one that down at the bottom, these like 2 or 3 are exactly the same
Does it drive you crazy?
It does drive me crazy, but I had already sewn the rest. And I was so like, nope.
I'm done.
Yep. And I said, back to what we said before, it's still just as warm. Like, that's not going to matter. So I left it.
Exactly.
So anyway, so you've put these all, lay them all out on your design wall and get them all in there. These are the ones that go mostly in the middle of the heart here. And then you sew them together in rows. And then what I like to do when I sew my rows together is I press the seams in the odd rows. So row 1, 3, 5, 7. I press those to the left.
Okay.
And then in the even rows, I press those seams to the right. So then when you go to put row 1 and row 2 together, the seams are going the opposite way like we talked about with the blocks.
Right.
And then you can nest the seams when you sew it together.
Perfect.
Yep. And you just keep going all the way and then you'll have your whole quilt top.
Wow. This is amazing. I'm just giddy about this. I'm so excited. I love this smaller version of it too. I mean, the bigger version's beautiful too, but I really, really love the smaller blocks, the smaller version. Perfect for a wall quilt, perfect to throw over a couch if you wanted to.
I love the idea of having one of each too, that like matches.
There you go. Yes.
I have a big one of the same fabric. I used the same batiks and made a big one. So we have like a mini me. We have like the big one and the little one. So.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Well, we hope that you enjoyed this video. We hope that this has inspired you to perhaps try something new, maybe really get, better at your cutting or pressing or having those center seams matched together. all it takes is practice.
That's right.
And it just takes practice. And this gives us plenty of practice.
It does.
Right?
And I have had several people make this for their very first quilt.
Wow.
So I promise you it's doable.
It is doable.
It does look more complicated than it is, but I promise you can do it too.
And of course, you can reach out to us at any time and ask any questions. Laura and I both are happy to help. And we want this to be a successful experience for you. We can't wait to see your finished project. Post your pictures. Is there a hashtag you'd like them to use?
Yeah, if you're on Instagram or somewhere, you can use the hashtag Exploding Heart Quilt. Or if you make this one, you can use the hashtag Mini Exploding Heart Quilt.
And of course, we'd want you to also use the hashtag My Girlfriend's Quilt Shop if you're doing this one, because we'd love to be able to follow your journey in making this amazing quilt. So thank you, Laura, so much for coming out here to Utah.
Thank you for having me.
It's been a lot of fun, and I can't wait to see what your next project is.
Oh, thanks, Kris.
All right. Good luck with your sewing. Keep us posted. Show us your photos, and happy sewing.
Happy quilting.